Welcome to the channel. We're going to be going through Snetterton 300, the long circuit. We're going to start off with a full lap of the circuit, and then we're going to go through some commentary about each corner after that. Alright, so if you want to skip to any particular corner, just go down to the description. There'll be a timestamp for that particular corner, and you can just easily revert back to that if you want to rewatch the video. Please hit the like and the subscribe button. Thank you very much. It's down below. So we're going to start off with start-finish straight, the Senna Straight. You want to keep it to the right-hand side next to the pit wall, purely because as we exit the last corner, we'll be on the right-hand side, and we want to be straight lining, ready for our turning point at turn 1, Riches. So go along the pit straight. As you go past the start-finish line, we start bringing the car over to the left-hand side. We're ready for turn 1. Now, with our braking references, there's quite a few. Luckily, we got references, clear references on the left-hand side and right-hand side, depending if you're being defensive or trying to go for an overtaking manoeuvre. You can still have a clear reference point to brake if you're trying to overtake. The second marker board and the first marker board. And on the right-hand side, between the two, we've got the orange panel on the railings. Riches is a high-speed corner. You want to make sure that you've got a lot of momentum, or as much momentum as possible going through this corner, because otherwise if you slow down too much it's going to impede your exit quite significantly. Turning in point, bear in mind we want to keep as much momentum as possible, is in between. It was just after the 1 mark borders. That's where we're going to start to turn in very gradually. Don't try and overwork the steering, and we aim for our apex, which is right in the middle of the curve. You can see as we get closer to the curve, there's a little bit worn out on the inside of the curve. Don't want to go over that too much. Try and keep it on the curve with a white line. It's not too aggressive, the curve. It's good to go over. It's not going to settle the car too much, but there are some of them curves to watch out for, but we'll go over those. Taking the second exit, because it's like a 2 apex corner, you don't need to be hitting that next apex on the curb. The apex can be a lot further out, because we want to concentrate more on getting our exit speed right rather than trying to hit that second apex. Let the car naturally wash out wide. Again, if you let it wash out too early, then you're going to be on the marbles and then going on to the runoff. because as you can see there is a sensor there for off limits, so obviously if you get caught in that you may get a penalty or your qualifying lap invalidated, so be careful of that. Now on the way up to Wilson, keep on the left hand side, we've got some nice clear braking references again. So on the left hand side we've got our third marker board, 2 marker board, our first and our 1 marker board on the left hand side, and on the right side in between the two is again an orange panel on the railings there, so that's a good braking reference point for when you're overtaking, just so you've got clear vision. Whereas in this video we're braking just after the 2, quite hard braking then by the 1, and then we're going to start turning in as we get towards the end of the railings on the right hand side. Now it is a slightly late apex into Wilson, but as we turn in, there's quite a lot of lock required here, nearly crossing over, but just as we get to the sausage curb, that's more or less where our apex is. Not on the sausage curb, but just as the sausage curb begins on the white line, maybe just a little bit on the curb. You don't want to go too high because it's not that it's aggressive, but it can be quite unsettling. And once you're on the inside, you can hug it for quite a long time, so don't get too anxious to get on the power straight away. You just want to hold your momentum, let the car rotate through the corner, and then as you come to the exit of the end of the sausage curb, you then start applying the power, not washing it too wide, but you want to get the wheel straighten up as quick as you can on the exit, therefore you can get your power down more efficiently then. Accelerating out the corner, bring the car over to the right hand side, ready for turn 3, which is Palmer. Now there's not many reference points for turning in and braking. Again, it depends on what car you're in. You may not be requiring much braking, it might just be a lift going to this corner, but the best way I've found for references in here is actually the turn board itself on the right hand side. So gauge yourself 3-4 lengths from that for either lift, braking, or a couple of lengths then for your turning in point. So, but you can see it's probably 3 lengths from where we're just starting to put a little bit of lock and make our turn. It's kind of middle of the corner is our apex here. You can see the white line where it's worn away, the tyre marks on there where it's got. That's where we need to be. Don't want to be going over the curb. You can see where a lot of people have gone over the curb. It can be very unsettling. So we've got wheels inside there, but it's probably more likely from overtake moves where there's not a lot of room. They've had no choice to take more of the curb to get through without making contact. The left-hand side of the track going through that corner is slightly cambered. It's a lot flatter on the outside. So, and also there's a lot of marbles there. So if you start running wide, you're going to lose a lot of momentum, a lot of speed, and a lot of time. So try and keep it hugged on the inside there, and don't run it out too wide too early, because again there is a sensor there, you can see in the yellow there. So if you trip that, then it's another trip to the stewards and maybe a penalty. So avoid that. You can hit a little extra curve, it's not too bad on the first part of it, but don't run too wide and risk going over the sensor. Now on the run up on this straight to Agostini, you want to start coming over to not quite the middle, but sort of right middle of the track, because as we get to the braking zone for Agostini, the track is going slightly towards the right, so you want to make sure you're braking in a dead straight line. Therefore your brake is more efficient, the car's going to be more settled, you're not overworking the car. And if it's more settled, you can apply a lot more brake pressure. It's not too bumpy in the braking zone here either. So nice clear references on the right hand side. We've again got our little orange marshal board there on the right hand side, our 2 marker board and then our 1 marker board. You're going to be braking anywhere between the 2 marker board and the 1 marker board. Our turning point is by ironically the turning board. Quite a late apex here, turn in. A lot of people take it tight, so generally it's not the best line. You don't get a good run out. So take a wider line, late apex. You can see where the late apex is, was most people got it right, have actually gone over the white line, not on the curb, because the curb can be a little bit unsettling and put a negative impact on your exit speed. Once you hit the apex, you can get hard on the power again and start accelerating and keep it over to the right side. Don't go too much on the curb there. Because that corner has such a late apex, it can make you vulnerable to be, if you've got someone behind you, to get overtaken. Now, the best way to combat this is to move over to the left-hand side, approaching the corner, take the defensive line, let the car behind you take the normal racing line and cover the inside. You can cover it on the inside all the way through, hit your apex. By the time you've hit your apex, they're taking such a wide line, you'd already got your full car in front of them again. So by the time you come out the corner, you can use all your exit speeds, and then they've got a worse off exit than you anyway, so you're not going to be able to come back in for the next corner. So yeah, it does mean you lose a few attempts to not put the same run out, but again, they've not been able to overtake or get anything more on. On the approach to Hamilton, depends on what car you're in. Some cars are going to be going through this flat out, some a little dab of brake, some just a lift. In this, we're just doing a little bit of a lift. Lift mainly is because it just gives it a little bit more rotation to turn in. Our turning in point is going to be just as we come to the edge of this worn out grass here on the right hand side, so it's about 3 or 4 lengths before the turning board. And as we turn in, we don't want to be hitting the all of the curb, and usually there's a stack of tyres on the inside of the curb there, so it can be quite hard to see exactly where your apex is. In this particular place in this test day, they remove the tyre, so just be careful of that when you're going through. But yeah, bang on in the middle of the apex of the corner, bang in the middle of the curbs there is our apex. You can see where it's a lot darker. But you can hit a little bit of curb, don't want to be mounting it because it will send you on two wheels, and it's very unsettling there because it's quite a high speed corner. Using all the exit you can, don't let it become unsettled or let it run out too wide too early, because there's another dreaded sensor. So don't run out too wide. Try and stay off the curb, because as you're coming through and rotating, it's easily on a front wheel drive especially to get a rear wheel on the curb. If you've got a bit of lock on, it's going to try and oversteer and turn you into the curb. So just be careful of that. Straight over to the left hand side, ready for Oggies. Now Oggies has quite a bumpy braking zone. So our references we only have here is the turning board. So just again use car lengths or distances to use as a reference for your braking zone here. But when braking, don't be too encouraged to put your foot down straight on the brakes, because especially on a front wheel drive car, if you stamp on the brakes going into Oggies, you're just going to lose traction from the rear, and it's going to be very unsafe and probably send you wide into the corner, or even worse, off the track. So still firm pressure, but once you pass the bumpiest section of it, you can apply a little bit more pressure and then start to make your turn. Now you can see on the left there's a little bit of worn out grass section there on the right hand side, but as you're turning, we want to be aiming to put our inside wheels on the inside of the curb, and you'll see that on the apex of the corner there's obviously a lot of worn away there on the curb on the inside. So yes, we know they don't like people going outside of track limits, but it's typically the racing line. You do want to get on the curb. It's a little bit bumpy, but if you go wide there, you're not going to get the same momentum and speed through the apex of the corner. The cornering speed here is quite important to get the road up to Williams and the run out of Williams onto the Bentley Straight. So you can save yourself several attempts just through this little complex alone. So there, we didn't quite go over all of the curb. You'd be surprised if we got over all the curb how flat it really is. But ride the curb out, let the car wash out to left, foot on the power, all power, and use all the track. Now on the run to Williams, you may need to brake, might just be a little lift, but just as a reference, we've got our turning board reference point there, and we've got our green concrete painted area on the left hand side. So typically here, this is just a lift. I'm lifting just as we get to the green painted tarmac, and then as we reach the end of that section, that's when we're starting to turn. And again on this corner, the apex is quite late round the corner, and they've removed the stack of tyres which is normally there, which is where this little patch of concrete is here on the inside of the curb there. So that's where we're aiming for. Keep it nice and gentle with your steering. You don't want to overwork it. It will just reduce your speed, and then your momentum. You've lost your momentum then trying to get some good speed down the straight. So as we pass there, we're already accelerating on the power. You can go over the curb just a little bit here, but you be mindful again, we've got another sensor there, so just to avoid running wide then. Plus if you do run wide, the actual runoff does narrow. You can see where a lot of people have been where they've overcooked it coming out the corner, and then it's took them onto the grass. So just try and get on the first part of the curb at the very most. Accelerate slowly, bring your car down to the right hand side. Don't just bring it straight over to the right hand side. You want to keep momentum and just slowly bring the car over to the right hand side. So we go down the Bentley Straights and approach our braking zone for the next 2 series of corners, which you need to use as one corner, because if you get the first part wrong, you're going to get the second part wrong. You're going to lose a lot of time. So approaching the bridge into Brundle, our braking point references are quite clear. We've got 3 braking marker boards. Depending what car in, you'll be braking anywhere between those markers. Now, you don't want to be braking to a point where you're braking so hard for Brundle under the bridge that you're going to have to start accelerating through the corner. You want to de-accelerate to a point where you can keep de-accelerating and braking through the corner, because braking through it, because it is quite a fast corner, if you brake hard and just let it coast, it's going to reduce all of your traction. You want either mechanical grip or a bit of braking just to stabilise it. So the best thing to do here is to brake firm enough so you've got to a sensible speed where you can control the car through the corner. You want to start turning in as we pass under the bridge. Try and keep it tight. You don't need to go too out wide. Keep it tight. Approach the curb, again resting your foot on the brake pedal, still slowly de-accelerating, just stabilise the rear and stop it from oversteering, stepping out on you as you're going around the corner. Try and take as much curb on the left here as possible so you can straighten it up, ready for Nelson. But you can see here on the left hand side we've got our this little bit of runoff here. Use that as your turning reference, so the end of that run there is our turning point ready for Nelson. Now, Nelson has a ridiculously big sausage curb, and you do not want to hit that, believe me. Even the highest part of the lower curb you want to avoid. It doesn't settle the car. So just try and hit the lower part of the white line, and it'll be nice and smooth. You'll get good momentum and good traction throughout the corner. Use all the track width. Don't go too much over the curb. It's not too aggressive, but yeah, don't run it too wide. Now on the approach to bomb hole, keep it over to the left hand side. Now bomb hole is a bomb hole, so you go in and you go up coming out of it. So our apex point here, typically it's going to be a lift, not so much a braking point, but just a lift, or it will be in most other cases it'll be flat out this corner. And you're going to be turning and aiming for the middle of that curb, because as we get close to the corner, we're going to be hitting the apex at its most sunken point. That is our apex there, and then we'll climb out there. Because once you've hit that lowest point, and then on the inside, the car will just hug the inside. It will just find the grip, and it will just pull you around the corner. If you don't hit the inside at all and run wide, then you're just not going to get the power on to get through the corner. So hit the inside. You can see there where people hug the inside a bit more and they've gone over the grass. That's what we want to be doing. Don't want to be hitting the grass, but that's where you want to be aiming for. So if you use that as a sort of an aiming point, you can be a little bit wider than that, and then you'll get a good run out of the bomb hole, ready for Coram. When you use all the track, here was a little bit impeded, but we can take Coram pretty tight every lap. I always tend to take it tight all the time. It's not really a corner you're going to get many overtakes on, so you don't need to take a wide line in, but around 2/3 of the way around on the inside of the corner we've got quite a wide patch of curbs there. Now we're not going to be going over that. When we get to that point, you want to let the car just roll a little bit over to the left, not to the middle of the track, but just a little bit over to the left. So as we continue going round, we can bring the car back in so we can keep a straighter line for braking in. As and when you get more confident with your car and controlling it around this corner, you can take the corner a lot tighter and manage your braking without the car actually blocking the rear, trying to step round, because it's quite a fast corner in any car, and the corner just gets sort of tighter and tighter, especially when you want to start braking. So to reduce the chance of obviously having a spin or getting out of control, bring the car over a little bit more towards the middle and then straight line it at the last moment so you can brake in a straight line, ready for for Murray's. There's no marker board at all or turning point marker boards for Murray's. So as the white line on the right hand side it's always turning the white line on the inside there. So as that straightens up, it's got that little kink. That is where we're going to be turning in. Again, big sausage curb on the inside of the curb. So avoid that. Hit the lowest part of the curb. Use all the track. You're on the power. Try and use all the width of the trap, but not as much curb as I did here because it is quite violent. As you can see, it shook the camera and it dropped. So it shows you how violent it is. Keep over to the right hand side. Keep it nice and close to the pit entrance there, close to the wall, and then across the start finish line. There we are. That's a guided tour around Snetterton. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.